Welcome to This Week in Tiger Athletics. I'm your host, Haley White, and joining me today is FHSU SID Ryan Prickett, and he's going to help me break down the week in FHSU athletics. So Fort Hays women's basketball clinched the MIAA title after a pair of Oklahoma wins last week.
Yeah, it was a great week for the women. Got out there, got the job done. Don't have to sweat about it this week.
Mm-hmm.
Last week when we talked about the whole scenario of, can we beat Central Oklahoma and Washburn might lose at Lindenwood? That was the perfect storm that happened. So we already knew we had a share of the title by Thursday night, and then the women just went ahead and took care of business and left no doubt on Saturday and put their foot on the gas pedal there in the second half against Northeastern State and won that game handily. So obviously a great time for our women's basketball program right now. MIAA title, this is their second now in about 4 or 5 years, because the last one came in 2015. So, but great to see for that senior class, obviously Carly and Tatiana, to see what they've accomplished for the program throughout their career, and just how the program continues to have that run of success under Coach Hobson. And it's just awesome to already have that locked up. And I guess we'll be maybe celebrating about that this week here at the Coliseum when we got 2 more home games to go yet.
Right, and the men actually split the Oklahoma trip with a 69-66 win over UCO, and then a 72-62 loss over Northeastern.
Yeah, another 1-1 road trip, which you can't really feel terrible about that, knowing how balanced the MIAA is in men's basketball this year. You got to feel like, we got to go out and at least get one per week. The men had a solid lead in that game at Northeastern early on. Kind of let that slip away by halftime. I think it was like a 4-point game by the time halftime rolled around. And then, they kept, hitting a few shots there early in the second half, kept the lead for a little while, but then Northeastern made a heck of a burst at them, and we just couldn't make shots down the stretch to counter that and make it a heck of a ball game down the stretch. They got by us, had a 14-0 run there that basically gave them distance between us and them. And so it was just one of those games where, that's a team right now, Northeastern, they're trying to make sure they get in the MIAA tournament. We're already locked up and know that we're going to be there. So obviously, it might have been one of those situations where Northeastern, they're playing desperate. They know that they have to win that game, especially after they lost 2 nights before to Nebraska Kearney when they had a big lead with about 5 minutes to go. So it was one of those situations where they wanted to make sure that they have a chance this week to get down to Kansas City. So, but yeah, it's going to be another big week of basketball here at the Coliseum for the men. We have Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State coming to town. Missouri Southern obviously is the team sitting in front of us in the standings. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to catch them mathematically, so we already know that we're going to finish either 4th or 5th in the conference standings, basically. Pittsburgh State, who's coming in later in the week, they're the game on Saturday. It doesn't really matter what we do this week. If there's some ties or whatever in the standings, we know that we're either going to be the 4 or the 5 seed in Kansas City already, so on the men's side. And we already know that we're going to be the 1 seed on the women's side. So we already kind of knowing what times we're going to be playing in Kansas City are already predetermined, so I guess we don't really have to sweat that this week. But there's a lot of stuff going on at the Coliseum this week, just as we wrap up regular season play, the last 2 chances to get out there and see our teams play in the regular season. So Thursday night's going to be an interesting night to talk about promotional side of things here for just a minute. We're having retro night at the Coliseum, so there's going to be a few things you see here and there that just kind of have a throwback feel to them, kind of like, maybe some traditions we used to do in the 1970s and the 80s in the building. The Alumni Association has helped put some of those things together. Also, as far as from concessions, we're going to have dollar hot dogs, popcorn, and small drinks, cheaper than what they normally are nowadays. So kind of throw back the prices. I don't know if they'll be totally back to 1970s and 80s pricing, but at least it's a nice little discount and a nice little touch to the retro night feel. There's also some other things going on peripherally during the game that you might see that's a little more retro feeling. I think that my assistant for the video board, he's been working on maybe a display that we might be able to get up there that looks like our old scoreboard, not the one that's in there now, the new video board, but just to kind of give it that this is kind of what Coliseum used to look like or what it used to feel like on given game nights back in the day. And then also they're going to be giving away retro t-shirts that night. So the first 250 fans to the game, that doesn't matter whether it's student or adult. They're going to be giving those t-shirts out between gates 2 and 3 when people arrive at the Coliseum. So no matter what age you are, if you want a chance at a free t-shirt, get out here early on Thursday night to get ready for the basketball games against Missouri Southern. So, and then as we look at March 2nd, Saturday, against Pittsburgh State. That's going to be our final regular season home games. We have a few different things going on that day. We're going to be giving out 300 pairs of sunglasses to the FHSU student section, so we're hoping the students will fill up their area of the court, and I think they're just going to be handing those glasses out after we see a population of students get into the seats and so on and so forth. And then Next Tech is the sponsor of that game, so that they're going to have a little bit of a bingo type thing going on, things that you can, I guess, check off as the game goes, or things that might happen during a basketball game. And so if you get a bingo, you'll get a free popcorn out of that. Also, Big Creek Crossing, our season-long points promotion, they load up 2 different gift cards for people to go spend at the Big Creek Crossing, or the mall as people used to know it here in Hayes. Right now, the women's points promotion card has $623 on it, and the men's has $613. So that's based off the amount of points that we've scored in MIAA games here at home. And so those numbers will go up, for these next 2 games. So looking at kind of what we average per game right now, both of those gift cards could get upwards of close to $800 for basically spending money to go get some new clothes, whatever you want to go get at Big Creek Crossing. So if you can text the winning word or whatever to the promotional area on that, they'll draw winners during those games that night, and we'll see who wins those cards. So then that can be anybody of any age. So those are some of the promotions going on this week. And also, obviously, Saturday is senior night at the Coliseum. So we want you to come out and support the Tiger seniors. There's plenty of them. Obviously, just there a bit ago, I was talking about Carly and Tatiana on the women's side, but on the men's side, we have 5 seniors that are going to get recognition that night, which are Brady Worth, Kyler Kinnaman, Trey O'Neill, Marcus Cooper, and Grant Holmes. So yeah, it's going to be a fun night. Always awesome to see a packed house at the Coliseum as we get into almost postseason play coming up here with the MIAA tournament just around the corner.
Yes, sounds like a good time to watch the Tigers for the last time in Gross during the regular season. So to move on, junior Brandon Ball secured his 3rd consecutive trip to the NCAA D2 National Championships during the Super Regionals last week.
Yeah, great weekend for Brandon. He just rolled right through that tournament, proved his #1 ranking in the nation at his weight class. I think, the only, I guess, downer of the weekend was the fact that Brandon was the only one to qualify for the NCAA championships. I think there were a few guys in there that we were hoping, with the way their seasons had gone, that they could finish in the top 3. And, obviously FA was the one everybody asked me most about. Unfortunately, he just, lost a tough match there right out of the gate, and that's how it goes sometimes with regionals. So I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things you get in those regional situations. You know, one guy wrestles really good, and then all of a sudden you're put in a bad spot. And unfortunately, FA being number 2 in the country at his weight class, he's not going to be able to go compete at the national championships. So hopefully Brandon, this might be a good chance at redemption for him. Last year at the championships didn't really go the way he wanted. I mean, obviously he secured All-America status back in his freshman year, but you know, got a tough draw last year, and things didn't work out for him. So, you know, he's going into the national championships undefeated, and that would be so awesome to see a wrestler run the table, you know, individually. So hopefully good things to come for Brandon here in a couple of weeks as he gets prepared to hopefully go win an individual national championship.
And for FHSU track, many finishes were high place and record-breaking for the Tigers during the MIAA Indoor Championships.
Yeah, that was great performances from our track and field teams. Obviously, talking to Coach McCullough there a couple of weeks ago, they don't put as much of an emphasis on the indoor season, but to see marks improving and, you know, us having podium time there at the indoor championships, I think that shows that we're progressing the way they want to the outdoor season, because they do put a stronger emphasis on the outdoor season here. But we'll see, you know, how many people, I guess, get into the national championship field. I know we might have a couple that might be able to qualify based off of their marks throughout the indoor season. We're just awaiting, you know, notification on that of who's going to be able to go. So yeah, another great weekend for track and field. Obviously, I think, you know, big things to come in the spring. And then we'll also be, you know, throwing in the addition of some of those events that we've been very strong at throughout the last couple of years, especially like the javelin throwers and so on and so forth. So exciting time for the track and field program.
And Fort Hays baseball drops the first conference series of the season to Missouri Western.
Yeah, we had to go to a neutral site to play that. Obviously, winter weather is not being friendly around here right now. So we were supposed to actually go to St. Joseph to play that, but St. Joseph was no better. I mean, they got plenty of snow as well and not playable there either. So the coaches were left scrambling early last week to try and find an alternate solution. Luckily, we were able to, I guess, even get down to Edmond after the blizzard came flying through here in Hays on Saturday. It left a nice big aftermath of snow and ice around town, and so just trying to get transportation lined up to get down there and play a game on Sunday night, which the temperatures have been much better in the middle of Oklahoma, so it just kind of shows you how much different just, you know, that much geography right there in temperature is. But you know, it was just another, you know, weekend where, you know, we pitched well in game one. I felt like we were competitive in that one, but the last two games of the series slipped away. The second game we were close for a few innings, but then it got away from us towards the end of that contest. And so right now, still going through some growing pains, and hopefully, you know, we'll see what the weather throws at us this week. But we were supposed to host Southwest Baptist here at home. We haven't made any official word on that yet, but there could be a likelihood we're looking for another place to play that as well. We've talked to the administration at Southwest Baptist. There's a possibility we may be going there to play the series instead, but who knows with the forecast for this area of the country. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be letting up right now with the extreme cold temperatures, and so I don't know what the alternate plan quite yet might be to try and get those games in.
And speaking of that cold temperature, softball had to postpone yet another game today against Newman.
Yeah, gosh darn it, it's get up and, you know, I'm thinking, oh, hey, I got a couple of softball games to watch, you know, via the web at Newman this afternoon, and I guess Wichita's forecast all of a sudden got poor this morning, and unfortunately now we're not going to be playing softball games there this afternoon. So they went ahead and postponed that doubleheader to later in April. I believe that's actually our last week of the regular season that they're going to play that on April 24th. So they've pushed that to then. We're actually going to play them at home a week earlier now, so we're actually going to see them 4 times now within maybe the course of 1 week later in the season. But Newman's going to be coming into the MIAA next year. They're one of the schools that's coming in, Rogers State as well, with the exit of Lindenwood and Southwest Baptist. So it's going to be a nice preview to, hey, this is what we got to look forward to in MIAA play coming up. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do it this early in the season, but we'll see what the schedule looks like this weekend too. Talking about baseball potentially going to Bolivar. Don't know if the weather forecast is that great for there, but Bolivar's only 30 miles north of Springfield, I believe, or at least 30 minutes north of Springfield. And Springfield is where we're supposed to go play softball this weekend. They're supposed to go to Drury University, and don't know if that's going to happen yet or not. So I guess whenever the sun decides to come back out and be nice to us, that might be the next time we play softball somewhere. So, and who knows when we'll be playing baseball at home next. I know the schedule has what it has right now, but it's all up in the air right now with all this snow on the ground, and we just need to get enough melting days to be able to make sure something's playable again. So,
well, thanks for joining me today, Ryan.
Yeah, no problem.
That concludes this episode. Tune in next week for another episode of This Week in Tiger Athletics. To stay up to date on the latest news and information throughout the week, visit tigermedianet.com.